Hello friends, today is a special day. Yes, I will tell you the tricks of how to get through the ugly stage. It's gonna be scary, but stay with me. So, for today's video, we're gonna be talking about the ugly stage, just like the description says. Now, we're gonna go into Oh no, I just because we're talking about the ugly stage, and since I'm in the ugly stage, I just figured the lighting right now is good. You know. Oh, you want to see the hair? I just thought the information would suffice, and all right. Can't believe these people are really gonna make me sit. Y'all really gonna make me sit this close with my hair? Really? Alright. Well, here it is. There it is. We're gonna talk about the ugly stage. Let's get into it. So, since we're talking about the ugly stage, let me introduce myself. My name is Joseph Morrison, aka one sec. Water. Gotta. Alright. My name is Joseph Morrison, aka Kojo Locs, here to give you another video talking about the ugly stage today. Very controversial topic. A lot of people say, you shouldn't call it the ugly stage. The lock process is beautiful the entire way as you go along, and and I get that. You know, I'm making jokes, but I get it. You know, obviously every stage and every process to the journey is beautiful. It's great. You know, you learn a lot about yourself. You learn a lot about your hair. There's a lot that you can get from it, and obviously there's a lot of positives that go into that. So, you know, it definitely is, and I agree with that. But the term, the ugly stage, is really just a term to mean the early preliminary stages where your hair is not yet locked, right? It's just kind of going through the process of getting locked, and it's getting frizzy. It's just ugly, you know? And there's nothing wrong with saying that, right? Now, in this topic, I want to talk about a few things. I want to talk about some headwear that you can wear just to kind of keep it under wraps, literally. So just some things that you can put on your head throughout the course of your day or when you're at home that's going to help you to not only maintain your hair and, you know, prevent anything from damaging your hair, getting into your hair, or taking your locks out, but just things that will kind of help you personally to feel more comfortable being out into the world with your hair in the ugly stage, right? Next, I want to talk about just, again, some protocols that I've talked about in the past that you should be following. So more of a reminder of things you should be doing when you're at home specifically to try to prevent locks from breaking out and just to maintain the locks. And number 3 and 4, we'll say 3A and 3B. We're just going to be talking about learning to accept the process and just things that you might need to understand or think about in regards to the journey that you're embarking on, and things I want you to think about and really ask yourself in regards to your decision to go on this lock journey. All right, so let's get into number 1. So before we do that, let's just look at what the ugly stage looks like. So when you're talking about the ugly stage, come here, I'll give you a closer look. So the ugly stage pretty much is this. So right now I'm just over 3 months locked. I have a lock update video on that, so you can check that out. But I'm in that stage where, as you can see, it's obviously my hair's not locked yet, but the hairs are coming together. But you're seeing tons of frizzing. It's just not, you know, an aesthetically pleasing look to most people. And yeah, it just has that confusing look of like, what's he doing with his hair? Like, is he doing locks? Is he just growing a messy afro? Like, what is it, right? So, and the tough part about it is because you're in that preliminary stage before your locks are actually matured, you kind of have to just go through this process and just let it happen. You know, that's really what the beginning stage is about, just letting the hair do its thing and trying to be as minimalist with your hair as possible. Yeah, that's kind of the result that you get. So you kind of have this awkward phase. For some, it's like, you know, a couple months. For some, depending on your hair's texture, it could be even longer. It could be 5, 6, 7 months of kind of that awkward, weird stage. And usually what saves you from that is when you go back to get your retwists roughly monthly, or go back to get a re-interlock. So it kind of cleans your hair up, everything looks good again. But since this lockdown's what's going on, it's all closed. So this is what we're stuck with for now. So I'm just, trying to get through it. But that's essentially what the ugly stage is. So going into number 1, we're talking about headwear. So, out of sight, out of mind, really, right? You also want to think about the type of hats you're going to be wearing, because in previous videos I've discussed how, cotton or woolly fabrics can really pull on the hair. So I'm even going to show you a tip that's going to help you to be able to wear like a toque, for example, without having to worry about that fabric pulling on your locks and potentially untangling or damaging them. So hat number 1 is just your typical baseball hat, dad hat, fitted hat. And all you do is just make sure it's not at a level that's too tight, right? If it's super, super tight and then you're kind of like mushing it down onto your head, that's not a good thing. So all I do is just, put it on, boom, boom. So when I'm going out, I'll rock my hat and that's it. The good thing about wearing the hat too is it actually helps to just kind of keep the locks compressed against your head, so you don't have to worry about anything really happening to your locks as you go out. This is probably the quickest, easiest method. Obviously, depending on what you do for work or depending on what your day-to-day looks like, will depend on if you can wear hats. But if you're just going out to the corner store or going for a walk, or if you can get away with it at work, just throw on the hat. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to think about people looking at your head and, being like, what's he doing up there? You just rock your hat, you're good to go, and yeah, that's number 1. Now, obviously a hat like this isn't really suitable for colder weather. Like, it's not really protecting my head or keeping it warm, I should say. If you do want to wear something a little bit more protective, like a toque, that might be a little bit of a bad thing because of the fabric. So I got another hack for you. So let's say you want to wear your toque, right? Obviously this type of fabric, that wool fabric, is not really going to be the best for your hair. So what you can do is grab a do-rag. Right? We've talked about this before. So getting a silk or satin do-rag, it's a very, very dreadlock friendly fabric that you can put on your head. Throw the do-rag on, and obviously, you can find these at any health beauty store, if they're open, or if they do curbside pickup right now, that would be good. Support your local businesses. But honestly, at the end of the day, if you gotta do what you gotta do and pull the trigger and order it from somewhere online, do that too. Just make sure you get your satin and silk fabric. That's very, very key for your locks. And then I'll just kind of wrap it up in the back, just like that. Or you can even use a satin or silk wrap it around your head, anything that you feel comfortable using. Now, I just throw my toque on over that, right? Bada boom, bada bing. Just like that. So I got my toque on, I'm comfortable, I'm warm, my head's warm, my ears are warm, and my locks are protected, right? So just to kind of give you the 360, you kind of see the do-rag hanging out the back just a little bit. But I mean, again, it's better than having a freezing cold head, locks and scalp that's getting dried up from the cold temperature, or having this type of fabric directly on your locks, right? So this is a method that I like to use, especially now that it is winter up here. Just throw them both on, go out to the store, do my thing, and you're good to go. So those are probably the 2 things that I like to do in terms of head protection or wearing something on your head. You can also wear a hood, and I don't need to get a hood to show you, but getting a hood just to throw it on the head, let's say you're just going quickly in and out of somewhere. If you're wearing a hoodie, just throw the hoodie on your head, you're good to go. And yeah, that's pretty much it. If you want to just rock the do-rag, or you're comfortable just rocking the do-rag, you can do that too. But these are just a couple methods that I like to do for headwear in terms of, keeping that ugly stage out of sight and out of mind. All right, let's jump into number 2. Honestly, it's really simple, and I've talked about this a few times as well, but really it's just following protocol. And what that means is doing the things that will best maintain your locks for the longest period of time, right? So if you can do things to help that, do those things. And those things are, so wearing your do-rag at home. When you're at home and you're just hanging out at home, throw on that silk satin do-rag, even if you're not going to bed, just because it'll help to maintain the integrity of those locks, the integrity of those parted sections, and it'll keep that compression so that your hair won't start to frizz and do all kinds of crazy things, right? So that's number 1. Number 2, making sure you're staying on top of your moisturizing, your oiling, whatever routine or regimen that you've set for yourself, making sure you're following that. Because again, keeping moisture in the scalp, keeping moisture in the hair is just gonna help the hair to want to do more of what you want it to do, which is to stay locked into those parted sections, stay neat, stay clean, right? That's the goal. That's probably the main thing I would say for this one. Just make sure you're following protocol. Make sure when you go to bed that you're wearing your do-rag every single night. That's probably the one main detrimental thing that you could do to ruin your locks, is going to sleep without your do-rag or without your satin silk scarf, because obviously as you're sleeping, you're rolling around on your pillow, your head's getting messy. Or to prevent that rather, you wanna make sure you're definitely wearing that do-rag or that silk satin scarf when you're hitting the hay. It's very, very important, very crucial. And I know it sounds very simple, and it is. That's it. Just follow your protocols that you've set in place for yourself, because this is the stage where it's most important to be on top of your maintenance, on top of your schedule, your routine. And I know it can be frustrating, but that's kind of a part of the ugly stage. Not only is your locks not looking as neat as you want them to, but you just feel like you now have this schedule of things that you're throwing into your life, and there's a lot that kind of goes into it, and it can be frustrating, but it's important that you follow along with it, because since you've set on this journey, you want to follow through with it, right? You start to learn things from it, and you start to learn things about yourself, and you start to develop and build on healthy habits like persistence, like perseverance, patience. Oh my gosh, patience is a huge one. And just discipline, right? Those are things that are really, really prevalent at this stage, and you start to see those things. So yeah, make sure that you're on top of your protocols, make sure you're doing your thing. And last but not least, and this one's, I don't know, this one's a tough one, I think, for a lot of people to accept, but the ugly stage is a part of the process, right? Like, unless you're going to crochet hook your hair and get instant locks, which a lot of people or a lot of lockers have issues with. They're like, that's not real locks, bro. Like, you got fake locks. That's a whole other topic. But if you're doing the conventional locking method, whether it be freeform or whether it be the comb coil, interlock method, that kind of thing, the standard methods, the ugly stage is a part of it. Your hair frizzing up, trying to come out of the parted sections, is a part of the process. Your hair hasn't been used to being in parted sections like that. So naturally your hair wants to revert back to what it's used to. It takes time for your hair to understand what you want it to do. And there's a bit of a rebellious stage for it to get to that point, and that's kind of what creates that ugly stage, right? Your hair's growing, you're trying to get into parted sections, it's trying to come apart, so the frizzing's gonna happen, as you can see.
Oh, gross.
And also, that frizzing is what helps the locks to start to intertwine and coil up and become mature locks. So a part of it is just, you kind of got to accept it and just understand that that is a part of the process. And there are things you can do to prevent it, but now you're kind of moving away from the journey that you are looking to do, right? Unless you're looking to do the instant lock method with a crochet hook or something like that. So I think the next tip I would give is just kind of learn to accept it. And I'll even touch on a few things that people have discomfort with. So number one, it's what will my coworkers think, or my friends, or my family, or my significant other maybe, or sometimes even just yourself. Maybe, we're all kind of used to having an aesthetic that we like about ourselves and looking a certain way. So when your hair is kind of not looking the way doesn't look like the end goal that you want it to look like, you can feel discouraged, or it's just not what you want to have. And one thing I would say is just, it kind of allows you to now assess your circle in a way. And I know it sounds like I'm kind of going a little far-fetched with it, but it really does. Like, if your friends genuinely judge you or don't want to hang out with you or feel embarrassed because of what you're going through with your locking process, are those people that really have your back and are real friends and are accepting of you for who you are? Probably not, right? If you have a significant other that, they might not like locks, but at the end of the day, if they love you for who you are, they'll accept the process that you're going through and the journey that you're on, right? And that shouldn't impede the way that your relationship grows or flourishes. That's another thing that you kind of have to look at. Just looking at the people around you and seeing if they're supportive of you or if they're not, right? Even the workplace, and this one's a tough one because obviously there is kind of that stigma with locks that it's unprofessional or it's dirty or it's not something that is seen as publicly accepted. And obviously that's nonsense. I mean, there's a lot of, and I don't even have to go into saying that there's a lot of professionals who've excelled in their careers with locks. I'm not even gonna go into that right now, but at the end of the day, it's a hairstyle, right? And it shouldn't dictate what job you have or how people perceive you. or if it's deemed to be a clean hairstyle or not, right? So that's another thing you kind of have to look at. Like if you're in a workplace that won't accept your locks, or they look at your locks like they're dirty, or they think that it says something about your character. And I know it's a tough one, but is that a job that you need? Now, obviously, I'm not saying quit your job tomorrow and look for another job, but it's just this process is going to make you see the bigger picture for not only yourself and what you think of the process, but those around you. It's gonna make you understand, like, do I really want to go on this journey or not? And the ugly stage is kind of where it gets real. Like you see your locks in a way at this stage that's not ideal to what your goal is. So it makes you ask yourself, do you want to keep going through this process? It makes you ask yourself about the people around you. Like, okay, well, they don't want to hang out with me just because I have these locks right now? Like, okay, clearly it's not an unconditional relationship, right? So look in the mirror and understand that this is a process that you've embarked on for a reason, and ask yourself what those reasons are, and if the reasons are not enough for you to keep them through the stage, cut them. No one's gonna judge you that way either, right? If you've gone through it and you're kind of at the stage where you're like, all right, I don't really want to deal with this, cut them. There's no harm, no foul in that, right? It's your life, it's your decision. So those are probably the best ways I would say to deal with the ugly stage, right? A few tips that help you to deal with it in terms of concealing or covering your hair. But mostly my advice would just be accept it and understand that it's a part of the process. And honestly, the moment you accept it and the moment you become more comfortable with your hair out and you're just walking around doing your thing with your ugly stage on your head, it does make you feel better about the fact that you are standing up for not only yourself, but your locks and just what they represent, and that you have self-respect for the goals that you've set out for your life, no matter what anyone thinks. And there is confidence that you can get from that, right? So that's really it. Actually, a YouTuber, TP Locs actually is his channel. You should go check him out. He's a great, he has a great lock channel, but he said something that was pretty cool. He said, my locks protect me from places I don't need to be. And at first I was like, what? But then I realized it's like kind of what I was saying. Like, if your ugly stage or your locks make people look at you different, maybe you don't need to be hanging around those people. If your locks make the people at your workplace look at you different or think differently of you, maybe there's something better for you out there that will accept you for who you are. So in a lot of ways, your locks kind of are a representation of who you are. And if people can't accept that, that's fine. But those aren't people you want around you. Just a short and sweet video, just a little bit of food for thought in terms of the ugly stage. If you guys have any more tips for me, or if you have any tips that you think anyone else can learn from, please feel free to comment down below. Other than that, yeah, I just wanted to kind of hit you with a couple things that I know I've been doing during my ugly stage. And honestly, I'll say I do have days that are, where you're kind of like, man, my hair is just, like, you're gonna have those ups and downs. But ultimately, I'm at a point now where I'm pretty confident with it. Like, I don't even really wear hats anymore, to be honest, because I'm cool with it. And if you're not cool with it, I'm cool with that, Really dig deep and think about what you want for yourself and just go with that, all right? If you guys have anything that you want to see me talk about, feel free to shoot it in the comments, right? That's what the comment section's for. Let's conversate, let's talk, chit chat. Subscribe, like this video, show a friend if you thought it was helpful. I hope it was. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Kojo Locs signing out. Peace and love.